Hi, this is David Carr, author of the RSVP Maker, Events Management Plugin, and other software for community-oriented websites. I want to talk about some updates to the mailer tool that's built into RSVP Maker, which I feel like I've made a bit of a breakthrough recently with making that much easier to use in terms of formatting and controls. So this is a basic email newsletter format with a little bit of spacing around the copy. Part of what we're trying to do here is make sure that this will work both in an email viewed on your desktop and an email viewed on your phone. So if I scroll down here, I can see that I have images embedded. I have the ability to customize the background and foreground colors on blocks of text. And I have the ability to do some simple layout tricks like arranging text in columns. So here is that message over in the WordPress editor. And we can see that the fonts don't align exactly, but I can use these standard formatting tools. When I select a block, this is where I selected the background color. And so I could change that to gray if I want, or to more of a dark gray color. I can change the color of the text as well to one of these values or something completely different. And the options available will vary a bit based on your choice of a theme. For this background that wraps around the entire image, there are options to choose again from these preset colors, or we could go down into this color picker and arbitrarily choose something that's special to us. We can put in the hex code value for that. Now, I've also experimented. This requires a little bit more tweaking, but I have also experimented with using an image background. So this is set to fill the entire space. It's actually the same abstract calendar image that's on the home page of the website. I'm using that as the background for this one. Here is a wedding invitation with fancy script text saying how wonderful their marriage is going to be, what a great party it's going to be, and the template has been customized to include this little rose color, rose image before we get to the legalese about who we are and why we're sending you the message and how you might unsubscribe. And this, by the way, is an example of where it makes sense to test these things by sending yourself a message first. So my first test, it turned out there's a little bit of an error in the CSS code, and it previewed okay on the website, but when I sent a real email, Gmail turned out to be just a little bit fussier. So I showed you how I can compose the message here. Then I can go out and preview it on the website. So this is a preview of pretty much exactly what I should be seeing in my email message. The font sizes and layout should be the same. And there are controls up at the top for sending this. I can either send it right now, or I can schedule it to send it in a couple of hours or tomorrow. I can send it to all my members, which is useful for membership-based organizations that give people an account on the website. Or I can send it to my own guest list that I've accumulated over time, people who've given me permission to add them to my email list. There's also an integration with MailChimp. So I can say I would like to send this to the MailChimp list, and I can either send it right now, or I can save it as a draft and look at it on the MailChimp service, maybe send myself another test message to make sure everything made it through to MailChimp. 99% of the time, I've had no trouble with the content I've submitted being just fine on MailChimp, but sometimes it pays to check, particularly if it's some big important invitation. So this is really just another post type in the WordPress editor. So in RSVP Maker, because it's an events-oriented system, we have a whole event section for scheduling upcoming events. We also have templates for all those events, and a lot of things that you can do on that side of the equation. If I want to create an email, I can just click here to create a new message, and it will appear with that default template. Now I've customized my default template a little bit. So the default template has this banner image up top. For the one that had the same image laid out as the background, I took that out because that could be a little bit overwhelming. And you can customize these templates as well. Click away from here. So we see we have a standard email template, a transactional template, which can be a little bit different. It's not terribly different in this case, but the transactional template would be for things like RSVP confirmation messages and other notifications that kind of get sent off in the background, whereas this would be my featured message standard template. And actually over on the site where I have the wedding set up, and again, we can see I had to play with the fonts not being quite the same in the editor as they were when I previewed it on the site. But still, there's a lot of power here that you get in terms of being able to use standard WordPress editing techniques to compose your content. On this site, I have set it up so that wedding stationery is a separate template. So if I want to create a new message based on my wedding stationery template, this is what I get with that rose image at the bottom. So after sending out the initial invitation, Jane and Michael might want to actually make this the transactional template. So this is what people will see when they RSVP. They might want to send a follow-up message, some clarification on the directions, whatever it is, they can communicate and use this standard template, and they can also tweak it over time. Now, part of the virtue of this is also that when we work in this format, we can bring in other WordPress components. So embed an event. That invitation had the embedded event for Jane and Michael's wedding, and we can't really use a form in an email, but we can have the event with a button, an RSVP button at the bottom. And other than that, it's going to follow my standard formats for this. And so I can go to insert before, and I can type my text. I can insert an image, insert a video. I can do all the things that I would do with a web page or a blog post. Now, I've actually experimented with another WordPress-based email format, the MailPoet tool. This was actually a startup purchased by Automatic, the main corporate backer of WordPress a while ago. And it has some advantages. It is integrated with WordPress up to a point. But I've actually found it frustrating that I couldn't integrate any content. I had kind of my own little hacky way of including a short code, so I can look up short codes for different events or event listings to bring RSVP Maker content in here. But I think at the time that they made the decision to create their own "what you see is what you get" editor, the Gutenberg stuff probably wasn't as far along as it is now. But now I think we can use the block editor, the new modern WordPress editor, to create a lot of different content types. Now there are some limitations here. I can include a lot of things. I can't necessarily include absolutely everything. For example, if I want to include columns, well, I've come up with a way of handling 2 columns, but if you try and go to 3 or 4 columns, you'll actually only get 2 columns. I have sort of a workaround for making 2 columns work. And so I showed you an example where 2 columns was implemented as the standard or in the body of the message. And WordPress won't actually tell you. I don't have a way of warning you in the editor that it's not going to work. So it'll let you start down the path of creating your 3-column layout. It's just when you view it in the preview and get ready to send your message, you'll see that it only 2 columns display, and the 3rd or 4th column will wrap around to the next line. There are a bunch of other customization capabilities built in here. I'm actually able to import the standard theme background and foreground color settings from a lot of modern web themes if they have a themes.json file or they otherwise have followed the WordPress standards for how the color palette is supposed to be specified. That can be imported here. A lot of standard colors are included here. And these are all mapped to classes. So basically every kind of block in WordPress has a class associated with it, whether it's just a plain old paragraph block, but it's a standard paragraph block. It'll have a tag associated with it. Something like has a certain background color will have a tag associated with it. So even if that's not part of my theme, if I really want a chartreuse background color, I can grab this from here. And you can also add to this, but for now, let's keep it somewhat simple. Let's say we want to make this chartreuse instead of pink. So let's see, we need to display our controls here. And I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I am going to add a custom tag here. And really, I should clear all this background colors that have been set previously. So I'm going to add that tag here, and we will see our, and when we preview this on the website, we will see that color. Now, I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying that that's a desirable effect, but we can get it if we really want it. And you could do more custom things beyond that too. So if you want to create your own template, here's how you do it. First of all, you can go into RSVP Mailer, the email design template section. You can scroll down here to where the previews are, and there's an edit link here. So if you want to modify the standard template, you can do that here, or you can create a new document based on the template, on the standard template, and then you would identify it here as one of my alternate templates. And so that's what I done with the wedding stationery one. I designated that. I just added a tag to it to say that that should be treated as one of my templates. And I can also just make a copy of any previous message. So let's just start with the boilerplate template here. Again, we have the colored background. We can change that color to one of these standard colors. And this theme that I'm working with here gives me a few more options. We like that? I don't know. We can play with it. With the color picker here, I could actually make some adjustments. Maybe I want that to be a little bit darker. All right. I could add my logo down here. I can add pretty much anything I want, and then I'll give it a title like it really could be anything. So we'll go back to design templates and we'll say that this is one of the standard ones that I want to keep at the top of the list. So now I have the orange template, I have the wedding stationery template. Now, this is a capability of RSVP Maker that I have engineered and re-engineered several times. I keep trying to do better. I feel like we've made significant progress here. Looking for your feedback on how it can be made better. There is one other thing that I should show you, which is important if Jane and Michael were using this as their main mailing list software. If they had uploaded their whole list into the system and they were sending to the guest list from here, one of the things you can do is you can send a different message to the people who have RSVP'd to Jane and Michael's wedding versus the people you haven't heard from yet. So maybe you want to give a reminder, gee, we haven't heard from you, to the people who have not RSVP'd, and you want to send the thank you message, looking forward to seeing you, to the people who are on board. Or if people are turning you out, maybe you don't want to keep nagging them. You just want to keep the people who have said that they're coming in the loop, particularly as the event grows closer. So these are some of the ideas that I've had about how you can work with this. I do recommend that if you're sending a very large list, that you use the integration with MailChimp. There are also plugins available for integration with SendGrid, other high-capacity email sending systems. They can be configured to send, all the email that WordPress sends, then they can work with this too. But I won't claim that this has all the engineering built into it to deal with being put on spam blacklists. You don't want to be sending lots and lots of email messages without a system for dealing with the bounce messages and the unsubscribes. It does have some built-in unsubscribe functionality. But check it out. Give me your feedback. I look forward to hearing from you.